Okay, so imagine being able to trade, like a piece of your favorite artist's latest work.
Hmm.
Or, invest in like a fraction of a skyscraper.
Yeah.
All just as easy as sending a text message.
Right.
It might sound a little bit like science fiction, but with this idea of tokenization,
It's getting rad.
that future might be a lot closer than we think.
Yeah, and I think it goes beyond just like those quirky investment opportunities.
Mhm.
Tokenization really has the potential to like reshape the entire financial landscape as we know it.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to be unpacking today.
Right.
We're going to be looking at how Ripple,
Mm-hmm.
the company that's known for its work in cross-border payments,
Yeah.
is actually positioning itself
Right.
to be a major player in this whole tokenization revolution.
Yeah.
We've got a pretty big stack of articles here that lay out Ripple's plan.
Oh, right.
But before we, dive into the specifics, let's make sure we're all on the same page here.
Yeah. Good idea.
So what exactly is tokenization?
Right.
And why is everyone so excited about it?
Yeah. So tokenization is, well, at its core,
Mm-hmm.
it's about taking a real world asset.
Okay.
Think anything from real estate to fine art to company shares,
Right.
and turning it into a digital token on a blockchain.
Okay.
And it's not just digitizing it, right?
Right.
It's about unlocking a whole new level of efficiency and transparency and accessibility.
Okay. I'm starting to see why people are excited about this.
Yeah, definitely.
But can you give me a concrete example of how this benefits me?
Sure.
The average investor.
So imagine you want to invest in like a rare piece of art,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't afford to buy the whole thing.
Right. Of course.
Tokenization would let you buy a fraction of that artwork,
Okay.
and it's represented by a token on a blockchain.
Okay.
And suddenly you can own a piece of a masterpiece, right?
Right.
And the process of buying, selling, or trading that ownership
Yeah.
becomes much easier and more transparent, all thanks to the blockchain.
Oh, okay. So instead of dealing with tons of paperwork and intermediaries,
Exactly.
it's all streamlined and
Yeah.
it's all secure on the blockchain.
Yeah.
I like this. This is pretty good.
Yeah.
And this is where Ripple comes in, right?
Yeah.
They seem to be making a pretty big bet on
Huge bet.
this whole tokenization thing.
Yeah, they are. In fact, Ripple's CTO, he was hinting at this shift
Mm-hmm.
back in 2023, actually.
Wow, that's a while ago.
Yeah, and since then, they've been making strategic moves
Mm-hmm.
to solidify their position in this space,
Mm-hmm.
and their acquisition of Medico, for example,
Right.
a leading tokenization firm. That was a major signal
It was.
of intent.
Big time.
And they've been partnering with institutions to bring
Okay.
potentially trillions of dollars worth of real-world assets onto their platform, the XRP Ledger.
Trillions.
Yeah.
Trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's not messing around.
No, they're not.
But it sounds like they're not just focusing on onboarding like traditional financial institutions, right?
Right.
They're also looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
This idea of making tokenized assets, work seamlessly across different blockchain ecosystems.
You got it.
Okay.
You've hit the nail on the head.
So Ripple's strategy,
Yeah.
it's really kind of like a two-pronged approach, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
On the one side, you've got them working with banks and financial institutions
Yep.
to tokenize traditional assets like bonds and securities onto the XRP Ledger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's already happening, right?
It is, yeah. There's some exciting examples we can look at later.
Cool.
But on the other side, you've got them collaborating with platforms like Omni Network
Okay.
to make sure that these tokenized assets can flow freely between different blockchains.
So it's not about creating like a walled garden for tokenized assets
No,
on the XRP Ledger.
it's the opposite.
They want to make these assets interoperable
Yeah,
and accessible across the entire crypto landscape.
exactly.
I mean, that's a bold move.
It is a bull.
But how does this all tie back to XRP,
Right.
Ripple's native cryptocurrency?
Yeah, good question.
What role does it play in this grand vision?
That's where things get interesting. Ripple sees XRP as like the fuel that will power this tokenized future.
Okay.
Think of it as a bridge currency
Okay.
that facilitates seamless transactions and value exchange across all these different blockchains.
Right.
As more and more institutions and individuals start using tokenized assets,
Yeah.
the demand for XRP to move those assets around is expected to increase.
Okay, That makes sense.
Yeah.
So more activity, more demand,
Right.
which could, theoretically drive up the price of XRP.
Right.
But, let's be real. There's a lot of skepticism around XRP.
Sure. Yeah.
It's had its fair share of, volatility. And that whole SEC lawsuit definitely didn't help,
No, definitely not.
you know?
You're right. That lawsuit created a lot of uncertainty
Mm-hmm.
for XRP investors.
Yeah.
But, remember, recent developments suggest that the case may be heading towards a resolution.
Oh.
And if Ripple prevails,
Yeah.
that could be a major turning point for XRP.
Really? How so?
It would clear up a lot of that regulatory uncertainty,
Mm.
and that could pave the way for wider adoption.
So regulatory clarity is key.
It's huge.
Okay, but beyond that, what are some of the other factors that could, impact XRP's success in this tokenized future?
Sure.
Because, it's not like Ripple has the playing field to itself, right?
Oh, no, definitely not.
There are other players in the blockchain space who are also exploring tokenization.
Yeah, for sure.
So competition is a huge factor.
Yeah, and it's heating up.
Okay, who are some of the big players that Ripple needs to worry about?
Well, Ethereum, for example, has a massive DeFi ecosystem that's already attracting projects that want to tokenize assets.
Right.
They've got a strong developer community and a first mover advantage in a lot of areas.
So it's kind of a race to see who can build the most
Yeah.
robust and user-friendly platform
Right.
for tokenization.
For sure.
I mean, technology is important, but at the end of the day, it's also about winning, hearts and minds, right?
Yeah.
If people don't understand
Mhm.
the value of tokenized assets,
Right.
or if they're not comfortable using the technology,
Yeah.
then none of this matters.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay, good.
User adoption is absolutely crucial.
Okay.
And Ripple understands this. They're not just focusing on building the tech.
So, yeah.
They're also investing in education and partnerships
Right.
to make sure people understand the benefits
Mhm.
and feel comfortable participating in this new ecosystem.
Okay, so education is key.
Yeah, it's a big one.
But I'm still curious about this whole idea of bridging the gap between
Yeah.
traditional finance
Mm-hmm.
and the more, shall we say, freewheeling world of DeFi.
Right.
How does that play out
Good question.
in this tokenized future?
Well, imagine a scenario
Right.
where you can seamlessly move a tokenized asset, like a bond or a piece of real estate, from your bank account to a DeFi lending platform.
Wow.
This kind of interoperability,
Yeah.
enabled by platforms like Omni Network,
Okay.
could unlock a whole new world of financial opportunity.
Okay, now you're talking my language.
Right.
That level of interconnectedness
Yeah.
would be a game changer.
Yeah, for sure.
But I have to ask,
Yeah.
isn't there a fundamental tension here?
Potentially,
On
yes.
the one hand, you have Ripple, a
Mhm.
company that's, built its reputation on working with established financial institutions.
Right, the old guard.
And on the other hand, you have the decentralized, often anti-establishment ethos of DeFi.
Right, those two worlds don't always see eye to eye.
So can these two worlds really coexist peacefully?
That's a great question, and it's something that a lot of people are grappling with.
Mm-hmm.
Some argue that Ripple's ties to those institutions
Right.
could actually hinder its progress in the DeFi space.
Okay.
They see it as a conflict of interest.
Interesting.
But others believe that Ripple's uniquely positioned to bridge the gap between these two worlds,
Okay.
bringing the stability and regulatory compliance of
Yeah.
traditional finance to the innovation and accessibility of DeFi.
So it's a balancing act,
It is.
and only time will tell
Yeah,
which side will prevail.
exactly.
But it's clear that Ripple is playing the long game here.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They have a bold vision for a tokenized future,
They do.
and they're making some pretty aggressive moves
Yeah.
to turn that vision into a reality.
They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's a future with enormous potential, but it's also full of uncertainties.
Right.
It'll be fascinating to see how it all unfolds.
It is. It's like watching the early days of the internet
I know, right?
all over again.
Yeah.
So much potential, so much to learn,
Mm,
so many questions still unanswered.
for sure.
But one thing is for sure, tokenization is a trend
Yeah.
that we should all be paying attention to.
I couldn't agree more. This is just the beginning
Okay.
of a major shift in the way we think about and interact with value.
Okay.
And as with any major technological shift,
Yeah.
there'll be winners and losers.
Right.
but the potential benefits are so enormous
Right.
that it's a journey worth taking.
Well said. Well said. Now let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about some real-world examples of Ripple's tokenization strategy in action.
Yeah, let's get concrete.
Because it's one thing to talk about the potential,
Right.
but it's another thing to see it actually happening.
Exactly, yeah. And there are some really compelling examples emerging.
Okay, like what?
Well, take Ripple's collaboration with Archax,
Archax, okay.
a regulated digital securities exchange.
Okay.
They're working together to tokenize hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions. Okay, that's not exactly pocket change.
No.
What kinds of assets are we talking about here?
It's a diverse range, actually.
Excellent.
Everything from private equity to real estate.
Wow.
And what's really exciting is that these tokenized assets are becoming more accessible
Okay.
to a wider range of investors.
So it's not just for the big institutions anymore.
Exactly, yeah. Tokenization could really democratize access
Right.
to investments that were previously out of reach for most people.
That's a powerful concept.
It is.
Are there any other real-world examples that kind of showcase this trend?
There are, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, Ripple recently helped launch the UK's first ever tokenized money market fund.
Oh, wow. The UK leading the charge.
Right. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
But it's a major step towards mainstream adoption.
I mean, this sounds huge.
It is huge. It shows that real institutions are putting real money into tokenized assets. And it's a sign that the regulatory landscape is starting to catch up
Right.
with the innovation that's happening.
Okay, so we've got real-world examples,
Yeah,
regulatory progress, and a bold vision for the future.
we do.
But let's not sugarcoat things.
Right.
There are some potential downsides
Sure.
and risks to consider.
Of course, yeah. Every technological advancement comes with its own set of challenges.
Like what?
Well, security is always a concern
Right.
when you're dealing with digital assets.
Of course.
And then there's the issue of complexity.
Okay.
Tokenization can be a pretty complicated concept for the average person to grasp.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the whole question of regulation,
Right.
which is still evolving
Yeah.
and can vary from one jurisdiction to another.
So it's not all sunshine and roses.
It's not. No, there are hurdles to overcome.
But it sounds like Ripple is taking these challenges seriously.
They are, yeah.
Okay.
They're working to address those concerns
Yeah.
by, building in robust security features into the XRP Ledger,
Right.
developing educational resources to help people understand,
Yeah.
and engaging with regulators around the world.
To make sure everything's above board.
Exactly.
Okay, that's reassuring to hear.
Yeah,
It sounds like a lot of moving pieces,
it is.
but it's clear that Ripple is in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
They're not just chasing,
Right.
those short-term gains.
Yeah.
They're really building for a future where tokenization is just a fundamental part of our financial system.
I think that's exactly right. Whether Ripple ultimately succeeds,
Yeah.
and becoming the dominant force
Oh.
remains to be seen. But there's no doubt that they're pushing the boundaries of what's possible and driving innovation in a space that's ripe for disruption.
Well said. Well said. And ultimately, it's up to us,
Yeah.
the users,
Right.
to decide whether we embrace this tokenized future.
It's our choice.
It's a future where we have more control over our assets,
Right. Yeah.
more access to investment opportunities, and more transparency in our financial transactions.
For sure. It's a future worth exploring,
Yeah.
even with all its complexities and uncertainties.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So to our listeners out there, keep learning, keep asking questions.
Keep an open mind.
This tokenized future is unfolding right before our eyes,
That's right.
and it's going to be an exciting ride.
It is.